Back again for another video. On today's topic, we will be talking about the difference between choosing and selection. Now, of course, these almost are pretty much synonyms, but in the world that I understand, these are two very different things. But in this world, there is male and female. And in this world, there is mate selection between male and female, of course. But nonetheless, when it comes to mate selection, and that's not to be confused with selecting. When it comes to mate selection, men and women go about this in very different ways. I used to say on my own channel that women choose first and then men do the choosing second. But I like to further articulate this into something different. Well, that understanding. And I want to explain this in a way that is very different than I explained it before. Now, there is the tangible and the intangible. When a man has a purpose, his purpose is very tangible. A woman's purpose is very intangible, meaning that these things come from her internal. And the things that a man creates, he creates outside of himself. Well, let me explain that a little bit better. A woman builds herself within. A man builds himself within and then without. This is how it goes. I don't know how to explain this in a way that makes sense, but hopefully you guys are catching what I'm laying down, right? So anyways, selection is something that we do a lot. This is very different than choosing, because when a man selects, he selects based on his circumstances, his purpose, his external. He selects not the external of his selection, but rather the internal, intangible ability of his selection. Meaning that, let's go with the screw and the different materials again. When a man goes to a hardware store, he has to make a selection. This is very different than choosing, because choosing is from within, meaning that it is an internal based thing. When a man makes a selection for the types of screws he needs, he selects it based on his purpose, right? It has nothing to do with his internal feelings or emotion, how he sees life, what his personal beliefs are. I mean, these things can be intertwined in different ways, but the core nature of his selection is based upon his purpose, right? I'm not going to select a wood screw for drywall. You get me? Even though I may have an affinity for the wood screw, which I personally do. I like to use wood screws on a lot of different things. I am not going to use something ill-fitted for the job if it's left up to my selection, right? Well, let's swim over to choosing. When a woman chooses, she chooses based on her internal workings. Now, some would say, yes, a woman chooses based upon her external environment, meaning that she chooses a man that is successful, that has some type of notoriety to his name, that has some type of ability to garner resources in abundance. You know, women like to choose those type of men. But let's really think about it. Are they choosing the resources? Most definitely they are. But why? They're choosing the resources because it ensures that her internal workings are protected. Meaning that it simply guarantees or increases the viability of raising successful children, which come from where? The internal of man, the internal of woman. So she seeks these things out because it is very necessary for her overall survival and the survival of her children, This is an intangible aspect. This isn't something that is based upon the environment, because no matter where you go in the world, there's not too many women who will turn down a rich man, right? So it's not based upon the environment. It's based on the internal workings of the woman and her desires, and also her biology as well. That's my opinion. But nonetheless, the reason why there is a difference is because, of course, we're men and women, simply put, but more specifically, it's because we have the ability to do different things. And what I mean by this is a difference in our vessels, right? Men, we are the vessels of God and other spirits if we choose to. This is the reason why man was instructed not to have any other God before the God, right, that we all understand, that we should understand. It doesn't say, don't have multiple women. It doesn't say don't select multiple houses. It doesn't say anything like that. It says don't have more than one God. But what are women instructed to do? Women are instructed to honor their husbands, right? Women are instructed to follow their husbands. In many accounts, when it comes to the history in the Bible, and for you people out there who may not believe in it, just follow me. There are accounts where the woman was being led by a man. And when the woman was not being led by a man, she self-destructed a lot of times. But nonetheless, women are instructed to do very different things than men are instructed to do, regardless of what the Bible says, even though I still believe that that is a pinnacle of truth. There is biological proof behind this once again. Why is it that a man will caretake for a woman? Why is it that a woman will submit to a man? You have to ask yourself these questions. It's because this is the difference in between how we go about finding a mate. One is selection, one is choosing. A woman chooses a man, once again, based on her internal workings. But a man selects a woman, right? Once again, I bring to you the analogy that I brought up earlier. It doesn't say anything that you cannot select multiples, right? But every time a woman is mentioned, she is to honor her one husband. Why is that? Because of the vessels, right? When I've never seen in my life a woman be able to house two masters in her vessel, one at a time, guys, right? The reason why is because her vessel is not constructed to take direction from multiple men. But the way men are built, we are constructed to be able to caretake for multiple women. It's once again in the biology. If you look at our density of muscle, our bone structures, we are built for being able to caretake for a lot of individuals in their protection and provision. I've mentioned this before, of course, but this is to re-illustrate that men are not built the same way as women are, and women are not built the same way as men are. That should tell you right then and there that there's a difference in how we go about finding our mates and what is important to the individual sex in regards to our mates. A man's purpose could be multifaceted, meaning that it has many branching legs, right? We understand this, that a man can have a purpose that requires different things, different women with different abilities to be present. But I asked you, how many men does it take to fulfill a woman's purpose? Think about that. How many men does it take to fulfill the reason why a woman was put on this earth? It only takes one from the proper type of woman, the proper type of man. It only takes one. The woman doesn't need multiple men for her purpose. This is the reason why I create the videos that I do, because they all tie into each other. A woman's purpose is to serve man, right? Is to procreate, is to support, is to be a helpmeet. How many men does she need in order to do this? But once again, like I said, if you look at a man's purpose, how many women does he need to fulfill his purpose? No one can actually say, because every man's purpose is very different. Some men may need 1, some men may need 5. Some men may not need a woman at all, such as Paul. So that goes to illustrate that this is the reason why there's a difference between selection and choosing, because the things that we were put here to do are very different between man and woman. When a woman goes about choosing a man, she checks with her internals first and foremost. When a man goes about selecting a woman, he checks with his externals first and foremost. There's not to say that men don't choose women. This is where we get caught up as men, because we're looking at a woman's beauty, or we're looking at her money, or we're looking at how well she may dress herself. Unless you're a fashion designer or you're a model agent, I don't think any of those things should be included into your purpose. This is where we mess up as men, because we select a woman based on her attributes, but then we turn around and we choose her based upon her external factors. That's where we go wrong. We shouldn't ever choose a woman, because choosing implies that you're checking with your internal, meaning that you're looking to satiate something within. This does not serve a purpose most times. This is an emotional response. This is the reason why women do the choosing, because they are the ones with the high levels of emotional requirements. So I hope this video serves to illustrate the difference between choosing and selecting. Selecting is based upon the external, tangible. Choosing is based upon the internal, intangible. Like, comment, and share. Check me out on Facebook. Check me out on Patreon. But until next time, this has been the Wolf and Beta Clothes. May you have a good day. And of course, peace be with you.